Hello, I've been asked to answer some questions on my presentation in the National Fire Fuel Science webinar series. Thank you for your questions. Can you describe your position on reducing ignition sources as a way to reduce bushfires? We actually know that only around about 10% of all fires are started by lightning. I think last year it might have actually been closer to 30%, but in a normal year around about 10%. The majority of the fires that we actually have are human caused, so therefore if we can do something about those human causes, we can reduce our bushfire impact. HVP Plantations has a number of programs where we look at trying to reduce these human causes. One of which is joining with the Gippsland Arson Prevention Program. This program works to get community messaging out there so that people are seeing, if they see something suspicious, then they will report it. If they know something about somebody who might be a bit suspect, they'll report it. It also coordinates things like forest patrols, who go out into the bush looking for people that shouldn't be there. They also have a significant role in picking up those campfires that have been left still smouldering and other illegal fires. HVP also has another program to prevent fires coming out of our plantation operations. During the fire season, every contractor that works for us gets an SMS message each day to say what the forest restrictions will be for the following day. These restrictions are based on Forest Fire Danger Index, and as the fire danger increases, the restrictions get tighter. There are some days where we stop work completely. I think in the last season there was probably around about 11 days where somewhere across the state we actually closed down an entire plantation area. How many hectares are burnt by prescribed fire to reduce the risk by 12%? This question relates to the residual risk graph that I showed on page 6 of the slides. This graph was actually produced by the Victorian government, and they didn't actually include the data in the graph to show that what area was going to be burnt to reduce that by 12%. You can probably get some idea about it by looking at the Joint Fuel Management Program on their website. So I'd recommend you go to Forest Fire Management Victoria and look for the Joint Fuel Management Program page, and that will give you some answers. Thank you. Do you think that native and plantation forestry should be considered a viable strategy for strategically breaking up the landscape? And can we use this strategy to manage our landscape more effectively? Certainly, a more diverse landscape can assist in fire management. Different vegetation burns in different ways, and so this can give us opportunities for fire management control strategies. Essentially, this is why people create fire breaks around their houses to reduce the fuel and change the fire behaviour. However, virtually every landscape in Australia will burn under the right conditions. Fires burn through plantations in a different manner to the way they burn through native forest. There's a different fuel structure there, and so fire will move in a different way. Long distance spotting is actually less in plantations often than it is in native forest, but it does depend on what species are in there. If you look at a plantation, say compared to grassland, then grassland has quite rapid rates of spread of fire, whereas the plantation, because of low wind environment, then the fire spread in there will slow down. But it's a different type of firefighting in there compared to out in the grasslands. So fire management can be assisted by having a diversity in our landscape. And even within, say, like a plantation, we can change the run of a fire through a plantation, say by changing the age classes that are adjoining, so we just don't have homogeneous fuel from one side to the next. In your presentation, you showed a fire perimeter map comparing the US and Mexico. Both areas are very different in terms of vegetation and weather. What impact do you think these factors had on the map? This map was actually taken from a peer-reviewed study which was published in the International Journal of Wildland Fire. The study was actually undertaken by the University of California, and the researchers deliberately chose this area because of the relative uniformity within that study area. The main change in the area was not precipitation or topography, it was actually that state border. They looked at the fire history records and reconstructed these fires from them and aerial photographs that have been taken over many, many years. And so they're able to put together all of these fires. And they also then looked at individual effects like wind direction, slope, terrain, different vegetation types across that, and statistically analysed this data to see whether tease out whether there was any factors that could be influencing it more than just the two sides of the border. And their conclusion was that largely the difference was not due to any of these other factors, but it was due to the difference in fire suppression regimes north and south. And so that largely with the USA policy of suppressing all fires in that area, that led to a more uniform vegetation type, which led to larger fires. The next question, how can we use sustainable forestry as a means of reducing fire hazard? This one's a good one. I've always believed that the best fire managers are the people that are living and working in our fire environment, and so right there in the natural environment. These people get closer to the environment. They get to know the moods of the land. They see the influence that topography has on vegetation. They see the cycles of the season, how rain and drought affects the vegetation and the dynamics of the whole system. And they've often actually seen fire in that landscape many times. And so these sort of people make really, really good fire managers because they are so connected with the landscape. This is why a lot of our Indigenous people are also very good fire managers. And so, yes, sustainable forestry, where you've got people working out in the bush all the time, really gives us a great opportunity and a great resource out there in people that actually understand the bush. They know where the tracks and the water points are. They know how to get to really difficult areas. They know where the lightning strikes normally hit. Some of them also have skills in bush bulldozer operation and really good bush skills, knowing how to get into a particular spot. So yes, I certainly do believe that sustainable forestry is another piece in that big jigsaw of successful fire management in our landscape. So thank you for your questions. I'd also like to refer you back to my presentation, and also I have put a paper which the CRC have published on their site. And look, go and have a look at some of the references I've used there, because they really give some further background to what I was talking about today. So thank you very much.